Hi everyone, Velvet here, and I have some stories for you today. But before we get started, can you please do me a huge favor and like, comment, and subscribe? It'll really help the channel out, and it'll get you more videos like this every day. Let's get started. And our first one comes from Significant Virus 747. Am I the beehole for making my ex-wife and her kids live in poverty even though I have money? I, a 46-year-old male, recently finalized my divorce with my now ex-wife, Lisa, a 41-year-old female. We were only married for 3 years, and the cause for divorce was issues with finances. We had separate bank accounts of our own, savings and checking accounts, for where our salaries went. I did create an extra account for her where I would deposit money in monthly, just for fun spending money, as I make significantly more, and wanted her to have less stress with her finances. Even with this setup, she would constantly go over the limit and would even take lots of cash out of my wallet and personal safe without informing me. When we were married, she and her two kids, an 18-year-old male and a 16-year-old female, from her previous relationship, moved into my house that I owned and paid for them to go to a private high school. Their dad is in their life, so they never saw me as anything other than the guy who married their mom. But I understand that, because they did meet me much later in their lives, and not as little kids. Regardless, I tried to keep a good relationship, but neither of them ever wanted that, and made me feel like I'm an ATM. I got a really thorough prenup made before we married, so I basically kept everything I have, except for some alimony I have to pay every month. After the divorce, Lisa and her kids moved out, and I informed her that I have closed the bank account I made for sending her money, and I'm going to stop paying for the kids' private school tuition after this year is over. So that way, at least they can finish the year out and have a few months to figure out the plans and transfer. It's been about 3 months since then, and I got a nasty call from her saying she can't afford rent anymore, so her and her kids have to move in with her mother, and basically berated me for taking away the credit card attached to my bank account. Apparently, the kids have also had to stop some of their extracurricular sports because she can't pay for the programs. She said I left her in poverty, and she said she had to apply for government assistance and food stamps. Also, when we were married, I had mentioned potentially paying for her kids' college tuition when the time comes, but it was never a set thing. Apparently, she still thought this offer was on the table, and mapped out how her and her son just got accepted to his dream school, and the cost of attendance will be $80K a year per year. So, she also wanted to know how I'd be sending the funds for this. I just told her she's crazy if she thinks I'm giving up my hard-earned money for someone else's kids I have no ties to anymore, and that I covered her bills completely for 3 years, so she should have saved her salary. Then instead of blowing through it on designer items, a lot of her family slash friends and her kids' dad are all calling me saying I need to provide for the kids at least because I'm their stepdad. Save it for the end. And that it's a lifelong commitment. Also, according to them, it's not fair that I'm taking away their opportunities to be at a fancy private school and college, especially when I have the money to pay for it all of it to keep up their lifestyle to how it was when they lived with me. So, am I the beehole? Okay, OP, this is an easy one. You are not the beehole. Your wife, your ex-wife, is a beehole and an imbecile. Good on you for getting a good prenup so she doesn't get to screw you over. But this woman is an idiot. She had it all. She had a good husband who gave her money. He gave her play around fun money to just spend, and she doesn't have to spend her money. And she could have done what you said and just saved her money and maybe did something nice for you. But no, she blew it all on dumb knickknacks. Like, I don't get buying brands of clothing and bags and stuff like that. I get it when it comes to electronics because you want something, that's well built, that's going to last you years, that won't fail on you. But not designer bags and shoes and dresses and coats and all that nonsense. Also, on top of finding a man who has money, who gave her money to mess around with and play around with, he was paying for her kids, not his kids, that came from a deadbeat. We'll get to his lame butt later on. Paying for them to go to a fancy high school. This woman is an idiot. You were giving her everything, and you were providing for kids that weren't even your own blood. And then we'll get to the kids. Seeing you as an ATM. I don't know how you put up with those rude little miscreants like that. They I'm sorry. If I met a man who was taking care of my mom, treating her well, and giving me a good life, you better believe that'd be my new pops if I didn't have my pops. And so, those same rude little freaking kids went and they still think you're gonna pay for their school. Same thing with your ex. Think you're gonna take them through college? Like you said, those aren't your kids. Those are strangers. That's like me going up to I don't know who's a rich that's like me going up to a millionaire and be like, hey, can you pay for my house and my car, and maybe if I have kids, can you send them through college? No, they won't. They don't know me. I'm a stranger to them. When you divorced her over, she was wasting money like that. God, she had it all. She's so stupid. That she lost everything. You don't get the. I can't. She's a narcissist. Is that woman a narcissist? Because she still thinks that you paying for college was still on the table after you divorced, and those are not your blood children, and you didn't adopt them. Thank God you did not adopt those kids, OP. And to wrap it up with the deadbeat bio dad over here saying, yeah, you should totally pay for my kids and stuff. What's your friggin' lazy butt doing? Go pay for your kids' college and their fancy schools and all that. Go help your kids. Those are not your kids, OP. You don't listen to that deadbeat. Block all these idiots trying to manipulate you and gaslight you into is wasting money on kids and a woman that you have no obligation to help or save. OP, you are not the beehole. Names changed. We're all 35 plus. For almost 15 years now, my friends have holiday parties where we each bring a dish. Mine has always been a green bean casserole. It's nothing fancy, just a random recipe I found online. A few years ago, Amy joined our group. There have been zero issues with Amy until parties. My casserole was always overhyped, and after tasting it, Amy said she could do better. I gladly passed the casserole duty to her. It didn't hit the same, and it was generally suggested to get passed back to me. Amy took this personal. For years, she texted me after parties about how offended she is that I keep making the dish to spite her, and how bad it tastes. She even accidentally brought her own green bean casserole several times. This Thanksgiving, Amy snapped over someone complimenting my casserole, and she screamed at everybody for pandering to me, how I'm out to get her, and for everyone hating her family since her recipe has been passed down for generations. And then she stormed out. We all talked afterwards, and I explained that this has been going on for years, even showing them the text. Everyone said it was out of her character for Amy, and wondered if something else was going on. As far as I'm aware, it's only the casserole. We were getting along 100% otherwise. I took Amy, her husband, and my husband out for coffee to talk, and was told it was all a misunderstanding. Amy has been struggling with depression, so it was within her right to act how she did. No, it's not, but I'll save it for the end. I asked how I could help, but Amy said questions like those were what her therapist warned her of me attempting to manipulate her. We agreed to end our talk there since we were getting heated in public, and hadn't talked since. When the group chat began planning Christmas dishes, Amy went out of her way to say I should make the casserole since I accused her of hating it, and she wouldn't want everyone to feel more uncomfortable than I'm making a misunderstanding out to be when I tried to speak up. Everyone said I shouldn't take things too seriously, and to sympathize with Amy going through a rough patch. To me, Amy has made it well aware that it's something to do with myself or the casserole. It's causing her so much turmoil. Over the years, she simply won't talk to me about it. She claims I never listen to her. I have no plans to make the casserole, but now I don't want to go to the Christmas party. My husband thinks it's unfair for me to do to everyone, and that I shouldn't exclude myself from a fun time. I told him there's no hard feelings if he goes on his own, but he says I'm missing the point. He says such a minor thing shouldn't affect years of good memories with Amy or our friends. I fully understand how depression affects people, but it's hard for me to accept as a get out of jail free card. I'm very confused, and failing to see why this shouldn't be taken seriously. Am I the beehole? Hi OP, no you are not the beehole. We've all been depressed. Sometimes I wake up depressed, and doesn't mean I get to be a jerk to someone and treat them like crap. I don't know what Amy's deal is. Maybe she doesn't like you and she's trying to kick you out of the friend group, so you not going to the party would count as her winning. I don't know if you care about that, but you shouldn't let this little hobgoblin creature discourage you from hanging out with your friends. From what you said in the story, she's a new addition. I don't know how she's tied to all of you guys, but you need to kick her out. She seems like a rotten apple and she's going to spoil your entire bunch. First of all, she was being very rude to someone in a group that she's just joined by saying that she can make the dish better. If she wants to make the same dish, then let her make the same dish. And how is it your fault that your dish tastes better than her dish? She is using her, and also that her therapist is telling her that's how you would, what you would say to manipulate her. What is this, a movie? Jeez. No, I think she knows what she's doing. I think she doesn't like you and she's trying to manipulate the group and trying to get you kicked out so she could be the winner. I don't know. There are just some evil people in this world, and that's the vibe I got from this little hobgoblin creature. And I half agree with your husband. You shouldn't let Amy discourage you from going to the party and hanging out with your friends. But he said to have a good time with Amy and your friends. No, your husband should have your back and hate that woman too because she's obviously after you. You shouldn't be going there to have a good time with her. He should be able to help you out with that and, want her kicked from the group. So he's kind of right, kind of wrong. Looking down the comments, I see people calling Amy a cry bully. That is correct, that's what I agree. She's a bully, but when she gets called on her nonsense, she starts playing the victim so she gets sympathy from everyone. OP, I know people are saying, like, leave the green bean casserole alone and make something else. I would make it again, just to screw over, who cares? And our final one comes from Infamous Morning 261. Am I the beehole for telling my stepsister no one wants her to host Christmas? I, a 21-year-old female, live with my mom and stepdad. My stepdad has one daughter, Tia, a 30-year-old female. Tia is married and has 9 kids with her husband. They also have over 7 cats. They live in a 4-bedroom house, but as you can imagine, it's still pretty cramped. I haven't spent loads of time with Tia, as she was already an adult when our parents got married. My mom and the rest of my immediate bio family really dislike Tia and her husband. I've visited Tia's home quite a few times over the years, and it's always looked like an absolute mess. The house always stinks of cat piss, and you can't even see the floor, where there's just stuff everywhere. The kids themselves don't seem neglected before anyone asks. They always look clean, it's just the actual house. Tia's husband is also always working on DIY home projects that never get finished, which also just adds to the clutter and crap everywhere. In my family, we normally rotate around who's hosting the Christmas get-together. Tia last hosted in 2019. It caused an argument between my mom and stepdad behind closed doors because my mom said if Tia gets to host again, she will not be going. As usual, the house was a mess. Tia's husband served everyone, including all of the kids of the family, seriously undercooked chicken. It was still cold in the middle. My mom pointed this out, and they threw it in the trash. Luckily, no one had eaten it. They had no gifts for anyone, not even my stepdad, who spent over $600 on their kids. I know gifts aren't absolutely necessary, but it's just a little bit rude. They then unexpectedly asked everyone to leave after we had been there for 2 hours, as Tia's mom and maternal grandparents were coming over. This year, Tia has volunteered to host again and invited us. My mom does not want to go and said we should just stay home this Christmas. This time my stepdad actually agreed. So we're gonna stay home. My older bio siblings also don't want to visit Tia again for Christmas, and have all told her they aren't going and said they have other plans. Tia was pleasant about it over text, but on Facebook, she began making passive-aggressive posts about how her fake family doesn't want to visit her on Christmas. I may be a beehole because I was growing tired of seeing these posts. I ran into Tia last week at the store and she mentioned it, saying to me that she's hurt by everyone not visiting. I told her, very bluntly, we aren't visiting her because no one wants her to host, and she and her husband happily accepted gifts from everyone, but got nothing for anyone, tried to feed us raw chicken, and their house is a mess. Tia and I started arguing, and she said we should have communicated to her like adults rather than just not visiting her, but I feel like some things are just common sense. Sorry this is so long. Am I the beehole? Hi OP, you are not the beehole. Tia is? And Tia sounds like a hoarder. I've seen hoarding situations where the kids look fine but the house is a mess. I still think that's a bad environment for kids to grow up in and live in. And I agree, feeding basically raw chicken to everyone is a no-go in my books, so I completely understand why people don't want to go visit her pigsty of a house. And also, kicking you guys out after 2 hours because her parents are coming? Why would you do that? It's Christmas. This is the perfect time for all the families to get together and enjoy each other's company. I mean, it's hard for me to enjoy anything when I'm, sitting in a pile of filth, but you know what I mean. So, no, you are not the beehole, and you are well within your right to not go. I wouldn't. I'm disgusted by things like animal feces on the floor. Seven cats, you know those cats are not using the litter box. Yeah, OP. I believe you guys handled it well, and I agree. Some things are common sense. I don't know if so. Her advice would make sense, or come and talk to her like an adult. But she's a hoarder. No matter what you guys say or do, you're not gonna get through to her. I would have done what you guys have done and just not go to her house. Thank you so much for staying with me to the end of this video. Can you please do what I said in the beginning and like, comment, and subscribe? It will really help the channel out, and it'll get you more videos like this every day. Velvet out.